Good morning to you. Begin this hour with that breaking news. The World Health Organization declaring the coronavirus is now a global health emergency. In Australia, there are 2 new cases of the deadly virus, bringing the total number of infected to 9. Internationally, the death toll stands at 170, with more than 7,000 people infected across the globe. Let's bring in Australia's Chief Medical Officer, Professor Brendan Murphy now. Good morning to you, Professor. The World Health Organization, of course, declared a global emergency. How will that alter our response to the crisis?
Good morning. It won't really alter our response. We've really scaled up our response over the last week since the evidence of the expanding number of cases in China. We have been very active in border measures, in detection and containment, development of diagnostics, and we will continue to do everything we can to detect early, contain and prevent any transmission of this virus in the country. What it means for the international community, though, is that there will be stepped up efforts to help China bring this outbreak under control, because it is not under control in China. They need technical experts. They're doing a Herculean effort to try and bring it under control. But the WHO has now recognised, with the significant export of cases into other countries, that it's time to make this declaration.
Well, of course, stepping up our screening process is being looked into, but is suspending all flights from China being considered here?
Look, the World Health Organization strongly discourages countries interrupting international travel. Suspending direct flights from China would not stop people coming to Australia from China. They would come to Australia from other ports via China, and at least what we know now is flights from China, which are all, I should say, only coming from those parts of China where there are very small numbers of cases. You can't get out of the major epicentre in Hubei province, but those flights that are coming from China, we are very actively meeting and making sure that everybody on board those flights who have probably a low risk of carrying the virus know about it. So obviously that's a decision that government will consider from time to time, but no country has suspended flights from China. Some airlines have made the commercial decision to stop flying to China.
Well, Professor, people here are obviously understandably very concerned about the spread of this virus at schools, flights and other public areas. How can you reassure the Australian public that this outbreak can be contained?
Well, certainly the World Health Organization believes that it can be contained, and certainly we have contained it very adequately in Australia so far. Clearly, the critical thing is making sure that it is well contained in China and that it doesn't become a large outbreak right across China rather than just in the Hubei province. I think it's important to reassure the Australian community that there is no human-to-human transmission in the community at the moment. These cases have come from China and have been isolated and treated. The other thing to note, even though it's early days in our understanding of this virus, is that most of the cases we have seen outside of China have been very mild. In fact, of the 9 cases in Australia, 2 have already been discharged from hospital well. So it probably is not as severe a disease as SARS, but we couldn't call that for certain on this early evidence.
Yeah, certainly an ongoing situation. Professor, thank you very much for your time. Let's go now to Reece D'Alessandro on the Gold Coast, where a second case of coronavirus has been confirmed. Reece, there are concerns for people who came into contact with the infected person.
Yeah, there are, Tracy. The 42-year-old woman and 44-year-old man currently in quarantine here at the Gold Coast University Hospital were on Tiger Airways flight TT566 from Melbourne to the Gold Coast at 8:45 p.m. on Monday evening. The challenge now for health authorities is to contact the more than 150 other passengers on board, and if those passengers were seated within 2 rows of the Chinese tourist group that was travelling on that flight, they too will be asked to put themselves in quarantine for the incubation period. This all coming as the Chinese national women's soccer team remains in quarantine at their hotel in Brisbane, and this morning as health authorities are given extraordinary new powers to detain and treat people who they believe might have coronavirus. That is how seriously the Queensland Health Department is treating this outbreak in the Sunshine State this morning. Tracy?
Reece, thank you. It's been revealed as well that 27 Australians are on board a cruise ship placed in lockdown over a coronavirus scare. Our reporter Steve Marshall joins us with those details now. Steve, what more have we learned?
Those details just have come in the past 10 minutes or so, Tracy. 27 Aussies on board, and among the 7,000 passengers and crews stuck on board that giant cruise liner off the coast of Italy, about 50 k's north of Rome, as they await the results of a 54-year-old woman from Macau. Those test results are due to be in tonight. But the real drama unfolded earlier when the ship's captain was about to allow 1,100 people to disembark at a port. And the local mayor got wind of this and he raced down there and prevented them from doing so. So plenty of drama. If the tests come back positive for this woman from China, then everyone on board faces being quarantined on board that ship for at least 2 weeks. Now, we all love a free holiday, but not under those circumstances, Trace.
No, definitely not. All right, Steve Marshall, thank you. Melbourne's power grid will be tested today when temperatures soar into the 40s as an extreme heatwave grips the country's southeast. To Christina Hearn in Melbourne. Chris, it'll feel more like a day in Darwin here.
Well, Tracy, we're going to have some hot northerly winds sweep through the city this afternoon, so that's going to make things very humid, more like the tropics than Melbourne. Coupled with that, it's going to be a top of 43 degrees in Melbourne, 45 in the northern parts of the state. With this humidity, there could also be some heavy rain and lightning as well. So they're also warning of potentially that red muddy rain that we had last week, that with the dust being kicked up by these northerlies. There is a total fire ban declared for the central, northern and western parts of the state. The fire risk has been rated as severe, and this hot blast is going to put severe stress on our power grid, particularly between 4:30 and 6 this evening as people return home. The energy market operator saying that they might have to go into their reserves just to stop blackouts from occurring. People being warned to take care in these hot, dangerous and erratic conditions. Tracy?
Yeah, certainly going to be an uncomfortable day here today in Melbourne. Chris, thank you. All right, let's get some sport now with Alex.
Thank you, Tracy, and a good morning to you. We were all right behind her, but unfortunately Ash Barty won't be breaking our title drought at the Australian Open. The world #1 going down to American Sophia Kenin in straight sets. 40 years since we've had an Aussie in the final of the Women's Open. It felt like this was the moment we'd been waiting for.
Oh, nice.
The first set was close, but Ash held the upper hand. When she was good, she was great.
Now she finds the forehand.
But Barty just couldn't find her rhythm. Errors gifting away momentum and the first blow.
Kenin steals the first set from Barty.
With her dream on the line, Ash only fought harder.
Barty refloats her challenge and is up a break.
But simply put, Kenin just stepped up when it counted, saving 2 set points in the first and 2 in the second. One fairy tale ended.
Kenin breaks Aussie hearts.
Another coming to life.
I'm just so grateful and thankful for this moment.
A bitter pill to swallow for Barty, but made easier by the support of family and a nation.
I mean, if you told me 3 weeks ago that we would have won a tournament in Adelaide and made the semi-finals of the Australian Open, I'd take that absolutely every single day of the week.
Kenin will face Garbine Muguruza in the final, while Novak Djokovic won through to the men's decider. It was the 50th time he and Roger Federer had met, but wasn't the spectacle of previous battles. The Serbian comfortably accounting for the Swiss master in straight sets.